Hello everyone, welcome to the Lightning Ball channel. If you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, please do so and activate the notification bell. Your support fuels my continued efforts. In our previous episode, we detailed the background knowledge of angelic ultimate skills and demonic ultimate skills, including the most powerful among them, the 7 virtues and the 7 deadly sins. In preparation for the impending Tenma Great War, the demon lords shared their ace ultimate skills to ensure none harbored angelic ultimate skills that could be manipulated by Michael. However, at the critical moment, Leon dropped a bombshell. His ultimate skill was one of the 7 virtues, Lord of Purity. Instantly, the Walpurgis venue erupted into chaos. In this episode, we will continue to unfold Guy's, Rimuru's, and other strategic summaries and responses to the current situation, along with Rimuru's feigned ignorance. What's going on? Let's get started. Upon learning that Leon possessed Lord of Purify, another matter that concerned Rimuru emerged. It was under what circumstances could the holders of angelic ultimate skills be controlled by Michael? The defection of Dino was due to the destruction of the labyrinth, and Felway, who also possessed Lord of Justice, entering the labyrinth. Rimuru's worry revolved around whether Lord of Justice could issue commands from a distance, or if the control could only be exerted very near to the targets. If it was the latter, Leon's risk would significantly decrease, requiring only that he be kept away from the holders of Lord of Justice, Michael and Feldway. However, if remote control was possible, the only solution would be to neutralize Leon. Guy then described the process of Velzard's subjugation, which was similar to Rimuru's speculation. The barriers of Guy's castle were broken, and while Misery and Rain went to confront Felway, Guy intended to settle scores with Michael but was unexpectedly hindered by Velzard. In other words, Velzard's situation was similar, with the holder of Lord of Justice's influence manifesting due to their proximity. Of course, it wasn't prudent to deduce the conditions for Lord of Justice's control based solely on the cases of Dino and Velzard. The cautious Rimuru continued to inquire about Leon's current state. Leon confidently asserted that he didn't feel being controlled. Naturally, this claim was dubious since Velgrind and Tatsuya Kondo had also believed they were not under any control. Convincing Rimuru of Leon's statement proved challenging. Guy, however, had a more direct approach. He publicly told everyone that Leon's true love was Guy himself. Upon hearing this, Leon angrily told Guy to shut up, insisting his true love had to be Chloe, and accused Guy of making a mockery of him. With such a response, it was undeniable that it was indeed Leon's will speaking. Rimuru fell into thought, as he wasn't without further evidence. During Kranoa's confrontation with Felway had suddenly exclaimed with excitement in the midst of their battle that he hadn't expected the holder of Lord of Hope to be there, and he sentimentally remarked that Veldanava too was looking forward to his victory. This statement clearly showed that Felway and his cohorts did not know on whom the angelic ultimate skills resided. Moreover, if Felway was acting at that time, it would have been a bit too dramatic. Rimuru's speculation was also based on another point. Leon's situation was different from that of Velzard, Velgrind, and Dino. Velzard and the others were directly granted their angelic ultimate skills by Veldanava, while Leon obtained the Lord of Purity through his own prayers. In this case, whether the control circuit used for domination within Leon's skill would change remained unclear. At this moment, the previously silent Seal suddenly became excited, stating that if she could devour Leon, she was certain she could disrupt the control circuit and settle the concern once for all. Rimuru was somewhat speechless at Seal's obsession with various skills, which seemed almost perverse. Yet Seal's suggestion made Rimuru even more convinced that Leon was not a problem. Thus, Rimuru shared his thoughts with everyone. He believed that Leon certainly wouldn't go around advertising his ultimate skill, so it would take some time for Michael and others to learn this information. Leon nodded in agreement, feeling the same way as Rimuru. Nobody would openly reveal their trump card. The other demon lords also nodded, indicating their understanding. With that, the suspicion on Leon was temporarily lifted. To ensure that Leon wouldn't be dominated, Rimuru took on the task of monitoring him. Afterwards, the demon lords shared their intelligence and discussed the enemy's strength. The main adversary, Michael, with the Lord of Justice, possessed the Armageddon, army of angel ability, which allowed the summoning of an angelic legion with a cycle of once every 500 years. Though angels, like demons, were spiritual life forms that could not survive in the physical world for long without incarnating. However, in the previous battle in Dworgen Nation, Yuki's secretary Kigali was dominated by Tatsuya Kanda. Using the corpses of 60,000 from Yuki's composite division as a price, a large number of death men were created through Kigali's magic birthday, also known as death men production. If the summoned high angels were to merge with these bodies, at least several beings powerful enough to rival true awakened demon lords could be produced. This meant that, aside from a few demon lords, the rest wouldn't be able to handle it alone, and would need to dispatch reinforcements for support. However, Meline maintained her excitement, confidently suggesting that they could simply take down their adversaries together. Ramaris, echoing the sentiment, reminded everyone of Veldora's presence on their side, dismissing the need for pessimism. The two continued their light-hearted banter, seemingly unfazed by the looming battle. Veldora, immersed in his latest fascination with the epic saga of the Three Kingdoms, boasted about his potential as a strategist, blissfully unaware of the gravitas of the situation. Luminous, however, spared no mercy in her critique of Veldora, sarcastically noting that with Velgrind and Velzard already under Michael's control, the addition of evil dragon Veldora would hardly tip the scales in their favor. Rimuru inwardly agreed with Luminous' assessment, doubting Veldora's reliability in the face of his sister's dominance. As Rimuru's mind wandered to Veldora's usual demeanor, he accidentally divulged a significant secret. Without thinking, he mentioned that Velgrind no longer posed a concern. Guy, intrigued, pressed Rimuru for an explanation. Caught off guard and unable to keep his actions hidden any longer, Rimuru confessed. He detailed the events of his encounter with Velgrind, revealing that she had been stripped of her ultimate skill, Lord of Charity, and thus, the fear of her being controlled was no longer warranted. Faced with the skeptical gazes still fixed upon him, Rimuru had no choice but to offer further clarification, sharing that he had been so engrossed in the battle that he only realized he had triumphed over Velgrind after coming back to his senses. However, the demon lord's expressions of doubt remained unshaken. Guy urgently inquired about Rimuru's exact actions. Rimuru, evasive, claimed it was a secret he could not divulge, all the while his mind racing with thoughts of protecting the secrecy of his ultimate skills. He reasoned that revealing too much, especially if Leon were to be controlled, would lay all his skills bare to the enemy. Thus, Rimuru continued to feign ignorance. Rimuru quickly concocted a plausible explanation, suggesting that Velgrind's situation mirrored what many who acquired ultimate skills undergo, a momentary evolution of power. He suggested that during their battle, Velgrind experienced a similar evolution, allowing Lord of Charity to evolve and break free from Michael's control. By glossing over some details, Rimuru managed to convey his point. Although the other demon lords remained somewhat skeptical, their own experiences lent credibility to the idea of such occurrences. For instance, Leon had once gambled everything on the brink of life and death to finally obtain Lord of Purity. Luminous, in turn, had awakened her ultimate skill, Lord of Lust, during a life-threatening battle with Granbel Rasso. Thus, the demon lords, albeit with lingering doubts, decided to let Rimuru off the hook regarding Velgrind's evolution and the acquisition of Lord of Flame God. As long as Rimuru continued to play dumb, he could muddle through, especially since the operations were Seal's doing, and Rimuru genuinely lacked knowledge of the specifics. Guy's focus shifted towards the further evolution of ultimate skills. Given that Lord of Charity, one of the 7 virtues, theoretically represented a pinnacle of strength, its capacity for further evolution intrigued him and hinted at his own potential for growth. The conversation then turned to the enemy's second major force, Frost Dragon Velzard. Even though the Scorched Dragon had become an ally, only Rimuru, Guy, and Nalim among those present were deemed capable of fighting with Velzard. Of course, at this time, de Gruel's true strength wasn't fully appreciated by everyone. The third major force of the enemy comprised the 7 Angels of Origin, including the 5 generals, Spectre Lord Feldway, Zelario, Dino, Pico, and Gracia. The good news was that Cornu was confirmed dead, and Abra had defected to Melim's camp. However, there was also concerning news. The powers of the Insectids and their leader, Insect Lord Zelenus, previously under Zelario's surveillance, remained an enigma, urging constant vigilance from the group. When Abra was brought into the discussion, Guy remarked on her integrity, finding it hard to believe she would betray Felway, and repeatedly inquired if Abra's defection might be an enemy stratagem. Rimuru, adding to the concern, noted that defecting just as war loomed appeared highly suspicious. On this matter, Guy and Rimuru shared an uncommon accord, both worried that the youthful-looking Melim might be deceived. Melim, however, expressed confidence that there would be no issue, mentioning that she, along with Frey and Carrion, had deliberated and unanimously found no cause for alarm. Rimuru remained uneasy, probing for details of Abra's conversations to judge the situation more accurately. After Melim relayed the specifics, the discussion veered towards the enemy's fourth major power, evil god Ivaraj. This corroborated with Rimuru's intelligence, indirectly affirming the authenticity of Abra's information. Moreover, with Abra unable to act freely within Spooky Palace, the demon lords decided to tentatively trust her. Yet, a more pressing concern emerged. If Felway, as Abra described, was willing to unleash Ivaraj and risk world annihilation to resurrect Veldanava, how would they respond? Given evil god Ivaraj's status as a confluence of destructive wills, boasting formidable strength, even a coalition of Gi and the 7 Angels of Origin had struggled to best him after 3 months of conflict. It was said that only with frenzied support from Ramiris and others did they manage to prevent the battle's aftermath from ravaging the world. Guy somberly declared that should Ivaraj truly emerge, he himself would confront the threat. Thus concluded the assessment of the enemy's forces. A relaxed Rimuru couldn't help but complain, suggesting that hopefully, no one was hiding any more secrets. The continuous emergence of additional information had led to the primary issues remaining unresolved. However, Rimuru's remark elicited unanimous ridicule from the demon lords. Guy even retorted that Rimuru was hardly in a position to make such a statement, and pushed the agenda forward to discuss strategies for countering the enemy forces. Guy took the lead in summarizing, first conjecturing that Michael's power could be conferred to others. For instance, Feldway could potentially employ ultimate dominion, necessitating that Feldway also be kept away from Leon. Indeed, as previously seen with Tatsuya Kondo controlling Kigali and Damrata, possessing sufficient strength could grant one access to Michael's abilities. Upon mentioning Tatsuya Kondo, Rimuru abruptly realized another critical issue, hastily indicating that Leon wasn't the only danger. Rimuru mentioned that, as he had previously disclosed, Veldora had also been manipulated by Michael. The revelation surprised everyone since Veldora did not possess an angelic ultimate skill. Rimuru then elaborated on the battle and another of Lord of Justice's Dominion abilities, Regalia Dominion. After hearing Rimuru's words, Guy and the others accused him of hypocritically criticizing them for keeping secrets, only to reveal he had kept a multitude of his own. Under the demon lord's stern glares, Rimuru frantically explained that he had genuinely forgotten to mention these details. Only after repeatedly apologizing did the conversation finally return to focus. Guy inquired about how Rimuru managed to liberate Veldora. Faced with the same question, Rimuru decided to bluff his way through, suggesting that, similar to Velgrind's situation, the continuous fierce battle led to an evolution in Veldora's power. Rimuru speculated that it might have been the trust between him and Veldora that precipitated such a development. Guy was left speechless, pointing out that he too had engaged in intense combat with Velzard, yet none of what Rimuru described had occurred, despite the trust existing between Velzard and Guy. Furthermore, from a normal perspective, the frequency of skill evolution Rimuru mentioned seemed ridiculously high. Rimuru hastily defended that it might be due to individual differences. However, given the piercing stares from the demon lords, it was clear no one believed Rimuru. Rimuru felt helpless, for indeed all this was Seal's doing, and he himself was unsure about the specifics. Fortunately, Guy didn't press further, conceding that Rimuru must have undertaken some extraordinary actions. After all, Everyone was aware of Rimuru's exceptional nature. Guy then voiced his concern over the addition of Regalia Dominion to their challenges, making the battle against Michael even tougher. He suggested that to offer rapid support during combat, it was necessary to coordinate and allocate the forces among the demon lords. Guy, particularly worried about Leon, decided to temporarily stay with him. Following this, Guy requested Rimuru to distribute his powerful subordinates among Luminous, Melim, and the others. Faced with Guy's sudden request, Rimuru was utterly baffled but concluded that he had no choice but to comply. Given that the dispatched subordinates needed to be sufficiently powerful and capable of quickly returning to support the Monster Federation if it came under attack, the 3 primordial demon beauties among others became candidates. The plan was for Gelb, Gabaru, and Ultimate to be dispatched to Melim's kingdom for support, the trio of Adelman and Xian sent to Luminous' kingdom, and Primordial Demon Carrera assigned to assist Giant Lord de Gruel. However, at that moment, de Gruel suddenly shouted in reluctance, demanding a reassessment. He asserted his right to refuse, desperately showing his determination not to back down. Meanwhile, Leon snickered quietly on the side. De Gruel then explained that having someone as troublesome as Primordial Yellow Carrera in his kingdom could potentially lead to its destruction before Michael's attack. De Gruel had no major demands but preferred a more stable personality for his support. Rimuru, hearing de Gruel's explanation, realized just how bad Primordial Yellow Carrera's reputation was, perceived as someone simple-minded, quick-tempered, and treating nuclear magic as a toy. Just as Rimuru was about to defend Carrera, Leon stepped in to support de Gruel's perspective. Leon recounted how Primordial Yellow used to unleash nuclear magic in his territory nearly every day, showing indifference even after being reprimanded and returning to cause more troubles a few days later. Hearing Leon's account, Rimuru suddenly had a bold idea, suggesting that since Leon was so familiar with Carrera, she should be sent to Leon's territory. After all, with Guy also going there, Carrera would likely not dare to act recklessly. Leon was completely panicked, half-madly refusing, declaring he would never allow that yellow demon to set foot in his territory. In his urgency, Leon's accent and manner of speaking even changed. Seeing Leon's frenzied state, Rimuru was internally resolved to send Carrera to Leon's place. However, this idea was quickly rejected by Guy. Guy stated Carrera could not go to Leon's place and further elaborated on Carrera's notorious past. Carrera often provoked Guy as well, always running away with curses when on the verge of defeat. But Carrera felt no shame in defeat, hence the repeated disturbances. Guy mentioned the significance of the upcoming war, expressing a desire not to waste any strength or energy on pointless matters. Guy's expression was unusually serious, stating that unless Rimuru could ensure Carrera would absolutely obey orders and Rimuru would take responsibility for Carrera's future actions, he could only then consider allowing Carrera to come. Given Guy's remarks, Rimuru realized he indeed couldn't ensure it. Thus, to avoid any unfavorable situations, Carrera was sent to Melim in Ultima's stead, with Ultima being dispatched to de Gruel's domain. This arrangement settled the reinforcements for Melim, Luminous, and de Gruel, leaving only Leon's support to be addressed. Rimuru couldn't help but complain about having to send so many to other nations, especially to Leon's, despite Guy's presence there. Guy chuckled, urging Rimuru not to be stingy, noting Rimuru's realm housed a plethora of awakened demon lords, plus Veldora was there, negating the need for such substantial force. Guy then expressed a preference for Benimaru's assistance in Leon's defense. Rimuru outright refused Guy, mentioning Benimaru had recently married, with both his wives pregnant, making it inappropriate to send him on a mission of uncertain return. Guy was baffled, failing to see the connection between Rimuru's reasoning and Benimaru's mission. Suddenly, Rimuru had an idea, proposing Diablo's deployment to aid Guy in safeguarding Leon. With Shuna being sufficient company for himself and Xian already dispatched, failing to send Diablo too might lead to an uproar. Rimuru added that Diablo's strength alone was adequate for the task. Guy hesitated, on the verge of refusal when Rimuru preemptively argued his forces were stretched thin, with his top elites already deployed, hoping his sincerity would be acknowledged by all. Rimuru's words effectively meant that since he had already generously dispatched his powerhouses, those receiving the formidable support should not be overly selective. This move successfully silenced Guy. Guy grudgingly remarked that Rimuru was becoming increasingly audacious but had no choice but to accept Diablo, the troublemaker. Thus, the Demon Lord's strategies were established, marking the close of Walpurgis. Alright, that's all for this video. As Walpurgis concluded, everyone prepared to return to their respective forces. But is the enemy's strategy really that straightforward? With the dragon factors of both the Scorched Dragon and Frost Dragon in Michael's hands, who is truly the one in the most dangerous situation? And what secrets lie between Leon and Almesia El Rusarian? We'll uncover these in the next episode. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Your support is greatly appreciated. See you in the next one.